So I'm in command. Right now I'm starting in campaigns. I always like to just start building out my ad first, and I worry about kind of my click-through link second. I think that's just the easiest way. It's a lot less back and forth. So I'm going to create campaign, and I'm doing a paid social ad. So I follow the same steps every time. My campaign name is going to be land listings. My goal, so this really doesn't matter that much when it comes to the ad, with the exception of if you choose advertise listing, command is going to be looking for you to pull in a listing. All of these other options, you can pull in a listing. It's just not going to prompt you to do that. So since I'm kind of highlighting land listings, my goal for this one, I'm going to mark as attract buyers. You have the option to run it on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. I just stick with Facebook, play around with the others and kind of see what works best for you. But I've heard good things about Facebook and Instagram. Honestly, I haven't heard that much about Twitter ads. I don't know. I think they're a little underutilized, and I don't know if that's for a reason or if people just don't prefer Twitter ads. But for your first time, I would stick to Facebook or Instagram. Those are pretty safe options. So I'm going to create campaign. I'm going to give it a minute. And then I'm just going to start building this out. So this little text box right here, honestly, the hardest part of doing the ad, because this is really what matters the most. So I always cheat and I have mine ahead of time. So I'm just going to paste in what I have. So I'm doing land, large or small. We have it all. Find your perfect land to build your dreams on today. Why wait for the perfect house when you can build it? Click learn more to explore available land. So I'm not giving away too much information. This one is, of course, about just generic land, so I don't have an address or price or anything. And I'm highlighting this click learn more because that is the entire goal of this ad. I want whoever is reading this to click learn more, give me their info so I can capture them as a lead. So that's what we're going to roll with. You do also have the option for emojis. If you're an emoji person, feel like you either are or you are not. So I could, since I'm doing land, I could look for some trees if I wanted to. I put that in there. I'm going to leave it as is. I'm not going to use any emojis today. Your headline is going to be this bold text right here. Pay attention to these character limits. So you can only do 250 in this main copy. Your headline is 25. You really cannot fit a whole lot in there. So I'm just going with plenty of land available. And that is the most that you can do. So you don't have a lot of wiggle room there. There's not much you can put. Your description. So when I finish this off, I will show you kind of all of the options and placements for Facebook ads. Not all of them show this description. So I change that to land. I do something that it doesn't really take away from the ad if they get it in a format that they don't see this description. So find your perfect piece of land today. It's not make or break the ad if they don't see that. So don't put anything too important in here because they might not see it in whatever placement they come across. And I don't want you guys to miss out on leads because your important information is down here where they can't see it. So this main copy, this is really what you want to utilize as this is your attention getter. This is where all of the important things about the ad go. The rest of this is kind of just decoration. I always point out, review the advertising policies for Facebook. You can't offend anybody. It doesn't talks about wine, drinking. This is a great kitchen to party in, things like that. Use your best judgment. This will be showing on your business page. So I'm going to save my text. And then next is my media. So this just is the image here. And I have one that I pulled from the MLS. So what I did, I just went to the MLS since I'm doing one on land, and sorry, I can't click and think at this and talk at the same time. I just found basically a pretty picture. That was one of our listings for land, and I'm using that as the image here. So I'm going to select media. And you can choose from listing. So what that's referring to is listing up here. So I'm not pulling from a specific listing. I could have in this instance, just because that's where I got my picture from. And I just saved it to my computer. I thought that was a little bit easier than having to remember, the address. And kind of when I first started this, you do have the option of 5 images. I had the thought of, okay, well, I'll pull 5 images from 5 different land listings. But land, you know, it's not really like houses. It's not really aesthetically pleasing to look at. It doesn't really capture attention. So I'm just going to go with the 1. It's a pretty image, and I'm just going to use the 1. So I'm going to select media. And since I'm not pulling from a listing, I have to go over to add images. And so if you pull something from designs, definitely utilize this designs library, the designs applet. See what all is in there, because there's so many awesome things. And you can pull directly from there. But I'm just uploading a good old image. And let me see if I can drag and drop this from a different screen. Okay. So my 1 is uploaded. If I was using more, I would go ahead and upload them. But since I'm just using that 1, I'm going to preview and crop image. I don't really want this one as a square. A square is best if you're using, 5 or at least multiple images. Since I'm just doing the 1, I'm going to do wide and cover as much as I want. So I can zoom out, I can zoom in. I just don't want any of that gray area. So I'm going to format that how I want it and save image. So that is going to pop it up over there. You can see, yes, it is a listing for land. This was on the MLS. I didn't just pull it from any random place, but it's a little bit more attractive than a lot of the other land listing images we have available. Your logo, you can pull this from KW Connect. So you can click on that link and it'll take you over there. You just need to choose if you want it on the left side or the right side. So it really just depends. Usually I kind of stick with the right side just because there's so much going on this side of the ad that it kind of balances out a little bit, but it's personal preference. I'm going to save and I'm going to configure my Facebook settings. So this is just pulling in from your account. So I only have 1 account connected, so it's going to do that one and then pull in whatever pages I've brought in. So Keller Williams-Fayetteville. So you can see that updated it to what our Facebook business page actually looks like. So it's called Keller Williams-Fayetteville. That is our logo.
Hey Shelby, okay, you got account Shelby Burgess and then pages. You said what? Say that again about where you pulled it from.
So this is what I have connected in my settings. So if you have pages, it just has to be connected. Otherwise, it's going to give you an issue when you get to this point.
Right, because my Facebook page was connected. So I just want to make sure like that's what would be in that space.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay, your destination. So I talked about if you want leads versus views. Leads, Facebook lead generation form. That's the recommended one because a lot of the times people who are running ads are doing them to get leads. If you just want to go for views, you don't care about leads, this site or landing page is the option for you. So what Facebook is going to do, since it's not going for leads, you might get 20,000 impressions on it, but you're going to get 0 leads. So if leads are important to you, stick with this one. That's why it's recommended. This is what you're going to want to go with if you want leads. Your button label, as of right now, and as it's always been, we only have 3 options. Only, learn more, makes sense in this instance. Website URL. So this is where I need to open up an additional tab, and I'm going to show you, so exploring available land. I'm going to show you where I'm pulling this URL from. So when they click on my ad, give me their info, they're going to be taken directly to, basically what I promised them. They can explore available land. So I am just going to go to our Market Center's website. You, of course, would use your own website. Keep in mind, I do these for the Market Center. That's really just the main difference. And if you want to do something like I'm doing, this is a pretty easy ad. You don't have to have a listing for it. You're going to want to find wherever this Find Your Dream Home thing is on your website. You don't need to type anything in. You can just hit search. It's going to ask for your location. You're going to want to allow that. I'm going to give it a minute to think. So where I get to narrow this down, I'm going to go to property type and I'm going to change it to lots and land. So right now it's only showing 21 properties. I'm just going to come over to my map and I'm going to zoom out. So now I have 129 properties. So that's a little bit better to work with. I can probably zoom out a little bit more or all the way out. So that gives me 263. So I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit because of course, whenever they get to this page, they can zoom in and out for themselves. So it's not the end all be all, whatever you zoom out. I just, I feel like it'd be a little disappointing if they got to this page and they were only given 16 properties to look at. So I like to zoom out and give them a little bit more to work with. So these options up here, you can really play around with. I've done ads on houses within a certain price, houses, less than $300,000, less than $250,000. I've done houses with more than 3 bedrooms. Don't know that anything comes up on coming soon, but if it does, I know for a while coming soon listings weren't showing up. You can play around with that and see, see what's coming soon, get a first glance at what properties are about to go available. Another one I like is this more option. You have price reduced within the last 7 days. So that's one I like to kind of play around with. You can just toggle that on. And whatever filters you use up here, when I copy this URL, that is exactly where it's going to take them. So that's what's nice about it. If you're advertising houses that have been price reduced in the last 7 days, you just need to toggle that on and copy that, and it's going to take them there. You can search for things like pools. You want to do, houses with pools. Don't be scared to play around with this because it is going to be on your website, and really, anything up here that you can filter, you can do an ad on. So there are, hundreds of options to do up here. So right now I'm on Lots and Land. I've zoomed out to 142 properties. I think that's a pretty good option. So I'm just going to take this URL up here. I'm going to copy it, go back to my campaign where I'm building it out. And I'm going to paste that in. It always takes a minute to think. So, I like to be patient until you see that check mark. So then you are good to go. If you want an even easier option, you can choose landing page. Anything that's connected to your agent site will be in here. Hopefully you don't have, 100 pages like I do, but you'll have a download my app. You'll have your agent site homepage. So those are definitely things that you can use as your landing page. Or your click-through link, your destination. It doesn't have to be something that you actually went over here and found for you, but this is an awesome, easy option. Your audience. So the default is going to be 20 miles within Fayetteville, or if you pull in a listing, it's going to be 20 miles from wherever that listing was. If you want to change that, you can toggle on use custom settings. So if you, for some reason, I saw, there was a discussion on our Facebook group about, somebody has a really high dollar listing that really just isn't getting that much traffic. And I believe that was Renee. She had like a $600,000 listing. I'll say a few months ago. It was probably a year ago. So she decided to start marketing it in Charlotte and try and see if maybe she could get, some outside interest in it. So that's definitely something you can do. You're not limited to Fayetteville. You can search for whatever location you want here. You can change your radius. And then the expert targeting is optional. I really don't play around with this much anymore because honestly, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. Some, regional tech trainers, they really think that this is the make or break it when it comes to ads. I kind of disagree. What I found when I use this and when I kind of stick to the same interests, I tend to get the same people captured in my ads. And, that's not the goal. I don't want to get the same people every time. I want to get new people. So if you hover over it, it just expands your audience to include more people. The thought process behind it is I can come in here. I can toggle on accounting. So now it is trying to put my ad in front of people who have liked pages related to accounting. If you want to use this, I always suggest searching things like real estate, search things like investing, search things like mortgage, finance, things relating to purchasing a house. Choose some of those. So hopefully you're getting in front of the audience that's most likely going to be interested in your ad. And then, if it's a listing that you're doing and say it has a pool or it has some super special features, I might search interests relating to those, see if any pop up, and then choose some of those. So you can play around with this. I'm not going to do any today. I kind of go back and forth on whether I use them or not. One I always like to recommend to people are things like Zillow. But keep in mind, if you're doing things like Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia, choose things that aren't, Premier Agent, because you don't want to capture agents as your leads. Choose things like Zillow because, who's liking pages related to Premier Agent? Probably real estate agents. And then those liking pages, related to Zillow, those are most likely people who are interested in houses or at some point will be. So kind of keep that in mind. Once again, review the Facebook advertising policies. Don't offend anybody. So I'm going to save. And then lead settings. So I unfortunately cannot play with this just because this is on my profile, but this is definitely something that you guys should utilize if you do an ad. What this means, whatever leads come in from this ad, you can set them to be auto tagged, or you can set them to automatically be added to a smart plan. So this is huge. This is pretty new. It came out within the last, month or two. Definitely play around with this. It just saves you a step. It used to be that you had to add them all to a smart plans or tag them all kind of after they came in. You can do this as they come in. So it is super awesome. If you're not that familiar with smart plans, or you don't want to create one yourself, go into the smart plan library and search Facebook leads, because there are smart plans that are automatically built out with the thought process of bringing in those that come from Facebook leads. So play around with that. If you need any help with that, come see me. But your smart plans applet is this one right here. So it just automates touches. It can help automatically communicate with people. It's definitely a huge piece of command that you should be using. So unfortunately, I have to leave both of those blank, but I'm just going to save and go on to the budget. So you do get to choose what days you want this to run, how long you want it to run, and you ultimately get to decide how much you spend. So, if you're just exploring Facebook ads for the first time and you're kind of weary, you don't really want to spend that much, you can spend $5, So choose whatever you want. You're not locked into a certain price. It's totally up to you. I do mine Monday through Friday, which gives me 4 full days. So basically it starts at midnight on Monday morning and it ends at, midnight on Thursday or Friday morning. I set my budget to $20. So it comes out to 4 days, $5 a day per channel. Your channel being Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Definitely play with this. They recommend 10 days. I kind of like to stick to the shorter ones. And definitely think about, okay, when do you think people are most likely active on Facebook? Are they more active Monday through Friday? Or are they more active on weekends? And play around with your days then. I'm going to save. Just a reminder, I don't do Saturday and Sunday because I'm not checking the leads on the weekend. So I just don't want them to go missed. That's the only reason I don't. Otherwise, I think it's a great idea to do them on the weekend, because I think, normal people like me who don't work Saturday and Sunday, I don't really have anything else to do except be on Facebook or, other things like that. So that might be a good time to capture them. Just make sure you're checking in on command on the weekends. Don't let it, don't just let them sit there. So here is my ad. I can toggle between the Facebook preview or the mobile. But when I'm ready to go, you can save it as a draft if you need, to think about it a little bit more. But I'm going to go ahead and publish this. I'm going to create campaign. So you do have to put your card info in before you can do this. I'm going to give it a minute to think, because if anything, command is really good at teaching us patience. So now this screen right here, you can see that it is pending review. So that has everything to do with Facebook and not a whole lot to do with Keller Williams. So don't get mad at Keller Williams if your offensive ad does not get approved. These figures right here, they will update in live time once my ad goes active. So not a whole lot's going to happen until Monday, but once it starts going, I can, as this updates, I can see my CPM, which is costs per 1,000 impressions. So how much would I have had to spend in order for 1,000 people to see this? You have your cost per click, your cost per lead captured, and then your total that it has taken from you. So I had a good example of this. I've done so many ads since then that I think it's now on the second page. This one right here, it was a $20 ad. I ended up with no leads. I stopped this one early because at the point that I had only spent $8.69 because it just was not performing well at all. So I just put a stop to it. And then this money just goes back to you as a credit. So just because I put, I want to do a $20 ad, that doesn't mean that on day 3 of you running a 7-day ad, that if you have no leads, it's a bust. So you do have the power, you can stop it at any time. And then if it hasn't taken all of your money yet, it'll just go back into your account as a credit. So if that makes you feel better about getting into Facebook ads, that is an option. So you're not locked in, if you spend $50, you're not locked into that until basically until the ad has completely ran its course. So on August 6th, I can't really do anything about it. But on August 2nd, if this isn't doing what I want and I have no leads, I can put an end to it. And then I can try again with another type of ad. I will say, I think ads on specific listings tend to do better. But even you can see. So I did an ad on a listing. I ended with 17 leads at $1.18 per lead. Last week I did one on Haymount, just the entire neighborhood of Haymount, and I ended up with 5 leads at $4. So it really just depends. Depends on your ad type and depends on the text. So any questions?
I have a couple of questions, Shelby. So first question is, I started one last night that I was going to create. And what I did I went out to our Keller Williams Facebook and just, asked individuals if I could use their listings. Yeah. And so, of course, I got a lot. So I was going to try to do a campaign with multiple listings, which I saw that you could do that. I'm wondering, number one, is that a good idea? And then number two, I didn't do attract buyers. I did advertise listings. So should I go back and switch that around? Because I am trying to attract leads. So should I go back and switch that to attract buyers versus advertise listings?
So to my knowledge, the only issue with that, did you do it as advertise multiple listings?
Yes.
So this was an issue about a year ago. I don't know if it's still the case. I haven't really played around with that topic much. When I go off recording, I'll take a look at it. Okay. But with that was like the one option you couldn't use the Facebook lead generation form with.
Right. So it did not show a form in there. Like when I went through the whole each step, it didn't have the form part didn't come up. It was just like they could go to your URL and all of that. But
yeah. So that's the downside with something like that. That's one of the ones that Facebook is really just going to go for views, and you're probably not going to get any leads out of it.
Okay. All right. So I'll switch that around. My second question is, how do you go and look up your leads? Like, how do you go get that information? Is that from Facebook, or you said go check command?
So they will come into command. I know Facebook emails me whenever we have a new lead, or it'll email whoever the moderator of your page is.
Okay.
You can't actually see it on the email. So you have a few options. You will get notified in Kelly if you have your notifications turned on. When you log into command, you'll have a notification up here. So you'll have a little red dot in the bell. And then when you click on it, it'll say like new lead captured, and you can click on it and it'll take you directly to that lead. You can also see them from this page. So any of these, if I click on this 5 leads, it'll take me directly to a leads list for this specific ad.
Okay.
You kind of have those options.
Okay. Okay. And then my last question is, are you willing to share this video? Just so
Yeah, I'm
we'll
gonna
have it.
upload it whenever I'm done.
Oh, okay. You upload it to the, oh, you put it on the YouTube. Okay. Okay, thanks.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.